Today we will start with the UI modeling. So in MDG UI, uh, as we know that in MDG we have a different versions, starting from MDG 6.1, which is the starting point of the present architecture. Prior to that, there was also some version like MDG 5.0, but the architecture of MDG 5.0 is now irrelevant. So that's what we don't count that particular version. The present version or the present architecture which starts, that is from the version 6.1, followed by 7.0, 8.0, 9.0, 9.1, 9.2.
Aditya, we cannot hear you.
Sorry, I got disconnected in the meantime. Okay, let me begin with. So as I was talking about, like MDG has different versions, starting from 6.1 to 7.0, 8.0, 9.0, 9.1, 9.2, and so far I think 9.2 is the last one. So the similarity of these versions are they are all having the same architecture. But prior to that, MDG 5.0, that time the architecture was different. And that's what we don't calculate that particular version right now. So it's completely irrelevant, that version from today's scenario. So prior to 6.1, there was like smart forms, SAP forms, Adobe forms. These are all was using as a part of UI. But from 6.1 onwards, MDG has been adopted the the web versions backend component as a floor plan manager. Yes, as we know that the backend component for any kind of user interface is nothing but WebDynpro. But in WebDynpro, the problem is we have to start with uh, creating the pages and menus, then sub-menus, then buttons, etc., which is quite tedious activity. So to make the work easy or to make it user-friendly, SAP provided this floor plan manager with MDG. So this floor plan manager is what? So if we describe this FPM, so this FPM is WebDynpro application that provides a framework for developing new WebDynpro application interfaces consistent with SAP UI guidelines. So basically, uh, as per the requirement, we can add our fields, we can add our UIBBs, we can add our buttons, whatever we want based on certain conditions. Also we can add certain validations, derivations. So those things we can add with the regular component or the standard component, and then uh, this is nothing but our floor plan manager. So this floor plan manager, what is the advantage of using FPM? So the first point is ensure behavior in unified form. Second one is less time consuming. Third is minimal programming effort needed. Fourth is standardization. And the fifth one is integration of different WebDynpro components in one FPM application. So basically, when you use FPM, it's not about a WebDynpro. Also, you have a mixture to have the ABAP and object-oriented ABAP programming to inbuilt with it. So the idea is not just having a new field on the screen or not just having a new button on the screen, but also the functionality of that button, of that particular field, and so on. So those functionality we will be writing in the backend ABAP program or object-oriented ABAP program. Okay, so that's what. So it is quite user-friendly, and uh, in terms of if you see the normal WebDin Pro and the FPM, the thing is the biggest advantage in MDG is you will be provided with a different FPM templates. So those different FPM templates you can utilize, you can use it, and then you can make your own, uh, you know, own requirement. So that's the biggest advantage here. So now different types of FPM configurations. So mainly three types of FPM configuration we have. The first one is object instance floor plan. So the WebDin Pro component providing an object instance type of floor plan. So basically, if you see this screenshot, so you have a different tabs here. You can see it's a tab 1, tab 2. So basically, when the things are coming in a tabular manner, right? So it's like if I give a simple example of Excel sheet. So we have a different tabs in Excel, and every tabs contain the different set of information. So it's more or less same sort of a thing. So you have a different tabs, and every tabs you have a different fields. Secondly is a GAF, which is WebDin Pro component providing a guided activity type of floor plan. So basically this kind of component we have seen particularly in some of the web pages which is related to the job portals, where uh, yeah, it can be for many other different users, but just I'm giving one example like a job portal. So we have a in job portal we have basically the guided plan, where in step 1 you have some basic information to provide, then step 2 some educational details, or then step 3 some professional details, and so on. So this is something the guided activity floor plan. Okay, so like every steps you have a different uh, sub UIs, and those sub UIs will contain the different set of fields. Okay, so this is a kind of a component. Now the last type of component, or mainly you can say that in MDG mostly we will use this type of component, which is overview page type component, like WebDin Pro component providing an overview page type of floor plan. So in such kind of component, or in such kind of configuration, what happens in UI configuration, like you have different UI BBs in the single page, and that may have sub UI BBs that will have a plenty number of fields. So it's a one page where all different UI BBs will be reside, and you will have a lot of information in the single page. So this is earlier it was only majorly available for supplier, customer, and material. But nowadays for finance also we are also using the OBP component because it is quite user friendly. From the end user point of view, it is quite easy to identify all set of required fields in one place. So that's the reason is OVP we use. Down the line, like today, the demonstration, what we will see Mainly we can see the OVP related demonstration, the OIF related demonstration, because uh, however, if you ask me from the real-time project point of view, mostly we use OVP. Okay. Uh, Not much obviously GAF and even OIF. Now the okay, different type of UI. Wait a minute. Before I go to this particular topic, let's go to the system and start uh, explaining the first demonstration. Okay. Okay. One quick observation here. That is, yesterday when I was checking the system, I found that the data model has been used, but the problem is, which I warned many times, that it was not saved and activated. So probably someone has been worked uh, but not saved and activated. And then thereafter, when I tried to, particularly I found the data model and I think one custom data model. I think airline process someone was trying uh, that was saved but not activated. So what happened that when such kind of things happened and it's been pending, and we really don't know what kind of activity has been done, what kind of mapping has been established. So when I was trying to try to activate the data model, we faced some issue, and also then when I fixed and I activate finally, I found some mapping issue was there, and that's what the UI was not opening. So again, I contacted with coordinator, and we to see the interest of time, we just request to refresh, uh, this instance again. So at least whatever the issues we had, so that has been corrected. So that's what, and because of this refresh, what happened that the data model for airline process which we created, uh, that has been removed. So we need to create again quickly. This is the same process which I'm trying to create, or the same data model which I'm trying to create, what we discussed in, uh, I think, 2-3 sessions. So first is the carrier ID, type 1. I think we have already the data element in place. Give some length. Okay. So then entries, currency. This is type 3, data element currency code, and this is currency. Then once the entity type is ready, we have to maintain the attribute. I think the attribute also we can see here. Okay, now go to the relationship. So here currency, so those details are already, I can see here. So 1:n relation, save it. Okay, then go back, then let me activate. So here, okay. Okay. uh, what next? So once we activate this, we need to adjust the staging. So here, okay. So this is the one which we adjusted. Now what next? Next is create the UI. So creating the UI, I will go to UI modeling, manage UI configuration. So in the manage UI configuration, okay. So now we can see this is the list of UI configuration. As I was telling that in MDG, the best thing is that MDG will provide you a set of component template. So this is the UI application, this is the UI application configuration, and this is the UI configurations. What is the meaning of it? So first of all, based on the data model, so you can see uh, some are blank, which is that means this can be fit with any kind of data model. Okay, that is no specification. So then we have finance related details, then followed by BP, which is having business partner including customer and suppliers. Okay, you can see CU is nothing but customer, SP is nothing but supplier. Then followed by material. Okay, so that means the first column which we see, that is the data model. Based on the different data model, the respective configuration. Next is the application. So application means for what kind of like for an example, this is MDG finance. So finance application. Similarly, this is BS OVP BP. That means business partner application. Then followed by MDG BS MAT. That means material application. So this defines the application. Which this is for which application. Next is the application configuration. The application configuration is nothing but for what kind of use we have. Like for an example, this is for MDG finance, OG OVP. So this is the OVP component, and this is for company. Similarly, I can see this is for profit center. This is for profit center group. Then followed by this is for customer. This is for suppliers. This is for vendor. Vendor and supplier more or less same. Then followed by I can see this is for material. Okay. This is the initial screen followed by some specifications. So that means that defines the application configuration. What is the specific configuration which defines this UI? And then UI configuration. Then the design screen basically. And the followed by the description. You can see the description and you can identify what is this application configuration is all about. Okay. So now let's focus on the example which we created for the airline process. Okay, that is our custom data model, and based on the custom data model we will now create the custom UI. So this custom UI, now definitely we cannot take those UI configurations which is specific to some data model like finance, or whatever. So we will definitely use the UI configuration which does not have any specific data model. That means it can be fit for custom data model or any other data model. Okay, then which one I would like to go with? So I can see this one, USMD entity value 2, which is for single processing of an entity. We can use this particular application. Now you can ask me why you are choosing this one. You could have choose some other application. Yes, but this application, the idea to use this application is to give an example of OIF, which is Object Instance Floor Plan. Down the line, we will have some example with obviously some OVP. So this one is the example of OVP. What you see, this is the OVP template. But this one will give you the understanding of OIF. Okay, so that's what I'm choosing this particular application. So what I will do, I will first copy this because this is the standard one. I cannot modify my standard UI application. This will ask me the access code, which I don't have. So definitely I will go with some enhancement. Okay. So I will copy this. Okay. Now, there are two things. So what we were talking about, deep copy. So different type of adaptation. First thing is the deep copy. What is deep copy basically? Deep copy means, if I say in a very simple way, let's say you are using one SAP standard program, some executable program, and that program you want to modify according to meet your requirement. So what you need to do? Either the first way is you can copy that entire program, okay, and then you can write your own piece of code. So what you can do, so if I say SC38 Let's say this is one program, SAP standard program. Now this program I want to edit, but this program will not allow you to edit because this is the SAP standard program. So what we can do, we can copy this program. We can copy this program as this. Let me save in local object because this is just an example. Otherwise, always we have to save the object in the project package. So every project will have a certain package. Yes, obviously for a specific application, you can create different package like for material, for supplier, for customer, okay? And then you can save your relevant object in that package. So now I can see this program is now copied to the Z program. So this Z program I can utilize. I can edit this program, and then I can add whatever the logic I want to build. Okay. So this is nothing but we call as a deep copy. So again, if I go back to the slide, so the deep copy is the simplest option is to copy a SAP delivered application. So that means SAP, whatever the UI application has been given, that you can copy it. With the help of the application hierarchy browser for floor plan manager, it is quite simple to copy the whole configuration tree of an FPM application. So if I just show you, so this is the whole tree. Okay, so you can copy the entire tree. So how we can copy? First we change the affix. Let's say YB. You can give anything, by the way. Why I'm giving YB? Because my data model name is YB, so it is easy for me to identify. Now you can see this is the standard one and this is the custom one, which is my target configuration ID. So you can see as a prefix, I have used this prefix, and now I'm going to copy, deep copy. So which will, as I mentioned, that always we have to use some package, but here I'm just saving in a local object. So now the whole tree, the whole configuration tree will be copied to the target configuration ID. Okay, so that is what it is talking about. So it is also possible to keep some branches of the original tree and copy only the part you need to adapt. Okay, obviously if I need a specific one, that also I can choose. So the advantage is it is easy to understand what is happening, and there is obviously no interference between your copied entities and the latter deliveries of the original application. Drawback: corrections and improvements of the configuration delivered by SAP which affect the original application will not reach the copied entity of your application. Okay, so that means the advantage is saying, like, whatever the logic I want to add, that I can add it in my custom one, and that I can assign it to my respective UI configuration. So then it will be reflect on the respective UI configuration. The drawback is saying that whatever SAP has provided, the original application, so it will not reach the copied entity of your application. So if you just stay with the standard one, then you will not get that particular custom. So this is the one how it looks. So just now we have seen, we start We copied the one. Okay. So now what we need to do, just continue with this copied one. Then I will, so this is the application configuration. Now it is asking for which application you are using. So I'm defining here the data model. So this is for the data model YB because this is the application which I'm using, which is nothing but the airline processing. Okay. Rest of the information will remain same. Only the data model name I need to provide here. Then continue. I would strongly recommend you in your project system, you should work with Chrome, not Internet Explorer UI. Okay. Now you can ask me why I'm not using Chrome here, because I have seen there is some issue with the Chrome here. Okay, particularly in this demo system, that whenever we have some F4 values, the F4 value does not come as expected in Chrome. So I did not get enough time to discuss the same with basis team. So probably I will get some time and discuss the same. So that's what intentionally I'm using Internet Explorer. Anyway, so this is nothing but the component configuration. So here component configuration is nothing but your a kind of a design screen. Okay, where the whole design you will make it. So first thing which you need to look at this, that is the left hand side of the screen, where you can see the initial screen, then you have a variant 1 and then variant 2. Okay, so what we will do first we will create uh, our own variant. We are not going to use this variant. This is the standard variant which by default is appearing. So first we will create our own variant. So in the variant, it is asking ID and name. So already if I use F4, I can see carrier ID. Now the question is how this carrier ID is appearing here. What is the connection? The connection is just before this step, we add the data model name, which is YB, respect to this UI configuration. So that's what, this is the beauty of MDG. Like your process model connect with data model, your UI connect with data model, your UI connect with process model. So everything is interlinked. Okay, so that's what you are getting this information straight from the data model. Okay, now let me delete the existing variants. Okay, so this is the variant which we created. Okay, ignore the error for the time being. Now, then we have to focus on the object instance schema. Okay, now what is schema? Schema, we know it is nothing but a structure. So this structure having main view, and it is also having sub view, and this is having the UIBB. Now what is UIBB? The full form of UIBB is nothing but user interface building block. So the UIBB means in one, I can say, let's say, let me give you some example. Let me go to NWBC and open one change request. Okay, so this is the change request, and you can see in this change request we have different UIBBs. So these are all different UIBB. What do you see? This is the change request, which is having the change request information like change request ID, description, priority, due date. So these information is part of one UIBB. So this whole section we called UIBB, user interface building block. Similarly, we have basic data. So this is the basic data UIBB. Okay, what do you see? This is the general data of the material. Then we have, let's say, description. So likewise, we have plenty number of UIBB. Okay. Now the question is, like every UIBB will have similar sort of data and different sort of data. So it depends on what kind of UIBB you are dealing with. Like it's a change request UIBB. So definitely the change request relevant information will be there. Similarly, the basic data. So the basic data, the general data of the material master related details will be here. Okay. So this is now the next question is how many UIBB can be possible in one change request? The answer is n number. N number UIBB can be possible. Okay. Based on the different versions, we can see like this is the basic version. What you see for the UIBB version. Now, if you see I will definitely show you here. So when you see the different versions of UIBB, you can see the number of UIBB has been increased. Okay. Minimize this. So now, so in the UIBB, first is the component. First of all, we need to understand what is component. How many different type of component we have. So we have basically 4 type of components. We have 4 type of components. One is form, another one is list, another one is tabbed, and another one is composite. What is form? Form means the UI configuration, or rather I say the final output if you want to see as a form-based manner. Form-based manner means what you see here. Yeah, this is like a form, and a form having a specific section, and that you are filling basically. So if such kind of UI configuration you want, then you will say it's a form-based configuration. List-based configuration means you can see some table. UIBB is having some table content, let's say. So this is something which we call it as a list-based content or list-based UI configuration. Next one is the tabbed-based component. Tabbed-based component means it is having multiple tabs. Okay, let's say normally in OVP screen it's rare. Okay, 1 minute. We have one here. You can see tabbed based. We have like change request having general tab, then note, then attachment. So these are all different tabbed based. So this is the tabbed based component. Composite means it's a form plus list. It's a form plus list component, like dimensions. You can see some of the records are like coming like a form based data, and some of the data which is coming as a table based information. So it's a composite means it's a combination of list and table. Sorry, list and form. So here the component which I will use for this example, that is the form based. Okay, FPM form. I can also see here what are the options I have. This is the problem. You can see 205 results are found, but I cannot see any of the result. Now when I click on this icon, it is appearing. So here you can see FPM list UIBB. FPM form UIBB. So a configurable form UIBB. Okay. So the moment I define the FPM form UIBB, the window name, first of all, what is window? Window means it's a specific structure, and through this structure I can see whatever I want to see. So similarly, if I say I want to see related to the form based data, so definitely through that window I will see the form based information. So that's what window is, a form window. So through this window, whatever we will see, that is the form information. Now configuration ID. So I can give some name. Then save it. So now I just given the name, but no fields are inside this UIBB. So what I need to do, I need to go to configure UIBB. Configure UIBB, then configuration ID. Here I can give some description. Again, save in local object, but you must save in a project package. Okay. Now it says feeder class does not provide a valid anyway, leave it. So this is the feeder class. Now feeder class we will come little later. So basically feeder class is like, as we said, that every UIBB contains some list of fields. So those list of fields having definitely some values. So those values, those fields, who is controlling from the backend? It is the feeder class which control the entire fields from the backend. Okay, particularly the logic, uh, whatever the logic we want to build, that we can build it through the feeder class. Okay. Anyway, we'll come to that point, but not in this example. So let's continue. Okay. So now this is the uh, design screen. This is the component configuration and particularly the design screen. So the first thing which we will do, that is the form UIBB schema. Here we need to add the group. Under the group we need to add the element. What kind of element we need to add? Particularly the local currency and the description and the URL. Okay, because already the carrier ID has been added. So this is the three details. Why I did not add the rest of the details? Because those rest of the details, if you look at properly, the rest of the details are like who has been changed, when has been changed, the description, uh, change description, similarly when has been created, who has been created. So these are all information, anyhow it will be available with any sort of change request. So I don't need this information on my UI unnecessarily. That's what I just skip that. Okay, and then just save it. So this is the UI part. So I just add the form UIBB schema, and inside the form UIBB schema I just add a group, and under the group I just add all the elements. Why group? Because as we have seen that UIBB itself is nothing but a group of fields. So that's what we are adding, the groups, and inside the group I have added all my required fields. Now it's a time to see the execution. Now in terms of execution, one thing we need to do, that is, we added the data model YB. We also added this UI application, but we need to also add the process model. So let me define the process model as well. Okay, this was the name which we kept earlier. So let's keep the same name. Okay, so the business activity, then change request information, this was the name which we have given earlier. So let's continue with that. Single object. Main entity is here the carrier ID, and workflow template, you can use this one. sorry, carrier ID, configuration ID. Now if I click here, I can see this configuration ID because by that time I have already created this. Okay, so I can add this, save it. Now go to the business activity, and in the business activity I can obviously use F4, and this is the one. Okay, so I created the business activity, I have created the change request type, and also with the change request type I have also assigned with the UI. So now you can see UI connect with process model, UI connect with data model. Now coming to the execution. So now how I will execute? So I know that, or we have seen that NWBC, NetWeaver Business Client, this is the basically the launch pad which we will use for any sort of execution. So now in this case, I should have a kind of a role. So these are all different role for the execution. Okay. Now the role I don't have right now for this airline process. So I need to create that role because inside that role I will have my execution details. So what I will do, I will go to the transaction PFCG. So the PFCG transaction is basically to create the roles. Now let me tell you, being a MDG consultant, you may not need to deal with this transaction because this is the transaction which basically deal with the GRC or the SAP security team. But if you know this transaction, it will be a added advantage for you because sometimes what happens that they will ask you to guide them for what exactly you are looking for. So that will really help uh, in that case. So the role which we will do, so this is the standard role, SAP MDG X menu. This is the standard role which we have. Now what kind of role is this? If I show you, this is the master data governance for custom object. That is what exactly we are trying to do it. So what we will do, we will copy this role first because we will add up with our own WebDyn application with this role. But as it is a standard role, definitely it will not ask, it will not allow me to do that because it will ask me the access code. So instead of that, I will just copy this role. Okay, and then I will add this some name and the copy whatever we have inside this role, all the components we copy to this custom one. Okay, so now go to the menu. Okay, first go to the authorization and make sure the authorization is, so go to the display authorization data and we will activate it. So I can see there are a lot of inactive records. So try to activate them. By see the component, you can understand this is purely the authorization activity and which will be done by the either SAP security or GRC team. So anyway, but it is better if you know this. So generate is nothing but a kind of a activation of the role. So I'm just generating this. It is already having most of the details or most of the authorizations just to ensure, and we already have the user. And now go to the menu, and here now in this menu I'm going to use this webbed into application. Now this webbed into application, now what is the webbed into application name? So the webbed into application name is here. So this is the application and this is the application name, USMD entity value 2. This is the application name, USMD entity value 2. Now the description you can say airline process. Okay. Configuration not really required. I don't think so. Configuration is really required. Okay. Now the parameter. The first parameter is process. Process means what kind of processing I am doing. That is nothing but what we define in business activity. That is the creation process. Second thing is see request mode. So whether the change request mode will be active? Yes, active. Okay. So this is the airline process and this. So now if I save this, okay, I'm just trying to activate again. Okay. So now I can open NWBC in another screen. Now if you say, okay, I have already the NWBC screen open. No, your role will not display here because you have just added the role right now and you have opened the screen before that. So you need to again recall the screen. Okay. And now I can see this role, YB SAP MDG X menu. This is for custom object. Continue. Okay. Now the airline process here. Okay. So first is the carrier ID details. So let's say this is the name which I'm giving. Continue. Now this is the create scenario. Create change request. Okay. Now followed by this information. Now you can see change request information description. Create process. Now priority I can define, okay, priority 1, 2, 3 based on this. Then the local currency. So the local currency I can choose from here. Then description like this, and the URL is, let's say, okay. So this is the URL details, currency details, and already we have given the carrier ID details. Now with this, I'm submitting the information. Okay. And the moment we submit, we will have the change request number generated. So this is the change request number 1218. Now this number I can see, so my change request. Also equally I can check this change request number in SE16, the table name USMT 120C. If you remember, I think in the previous session we talked about the table name, different tables in fact, the PPT which we were discussing. This is one of the table which is having the change request information. So you can see this is the detail, right? This is the change request type. This is the text of the change request. This is the time. This is basically the timestamp. This is year. This is month. This is date. And then hour, minute, second. And this is the server time, by the way. So this is the this time the change request has been created, or this is the last modification time, but still it is not finished because just the change request is submitted, not it is having any approvals completed. Okay, so that's what you can see the submission details here. Priority is 1, and this is the information. Whether it is a data active, no, it's still inactive. Once it will active, it will come as flag check, but it is not active now because it is just submitted. So here, so this is my change request. Now again, if I see my change request here, so from this change request information, I can see what is the ID of carrier ID. This information basically, you will see the leading entity information here the moment you click on the change request. Similarly, we can see the workflow log. What is the status of this change request in terms of workflow? However, we haven't started the workflow discussion, so there is no point. So you can see the workflow table is blank, and if I see the background step, so it is already having one default step which is completed because we did not create any workflow yet regarding this step, so definitely there is no point. Okay, this is the change request information what we have entered, right? This is the information only we have entered. Okay, now validation log, you can validate the data. Okay, so validation log not yet started because we we not even define the respective feeder class behind. Okay, so this is the information so far. Now also this information definitely will go to the staging table. Okay, because we know the moment we submit the data will go to the staging table. So we need to check our information in the staging table as well. Okay, now staging table is for YB. This is the check table and execute. How many entries I have? Only one entry. And this is the entry, right? So from here, it's quite clear that the moment we submit the data, now the data is in the staging table. Then once we will build up this workflow and everything, then it will go for the different workflow process, and then it will activate accordingly. Okay. So this is the process of display the information for the custom data model. Okay, and these are all our custom details which we created in the as a part of custom data model. So any questions so far regarding this custom model, custom UI model which we create based on the custom data model? Okay.
Aditya, can we ask some questions now?
Yes, yes. That's what I'm asking for.
Oh, okay. Your voice got cut, I think, in the end. So after you showed the.
Okay. No. I said no. I said that this is the example of custom UI model based on our custom data model. So
Yeah.
now if
So,
you have any question.
yeah, please. So Aditya, like over here, when you did the UIBB, right? You chose the Web10 Pro component for the form, but you never chose a UIBB for the change request, like the top piece, right? Like where the tab things are there, right? The general data, notes, and attachment. How did that come Aditya?
This is the moment I select the form. It is a part of this particular UIBB component. So it's a standard form component. So even though if you select the list or if you select the composite, this part is common. This part will come because it is a part of change request. The change request information, then followed by your information. Okay, so that's what for this particular part. Particularly if you see, this is the OIF, basically the OIF feature. In this OIF feature, this part is common. You need not to add anything. The only thing is the rest of the part which I needed. But when you go to OBP form is different. For this part, you need to have a separate section. Then for the basic data, you have a separate section. For other UIBBs, you have the separate section. So that's what you can see little differences here.
Got it. So in the case of OIF, automatically the change request
Right. That change request part is basically the common section, you can say.
Got it. The next question, Aditya, is where did you choose that it needs to be a create change request? Like in the process model, I didn't see where you said like, does it need to be a create change request or a change request kind of a thing?
Okay. Wait a minute. So in the business activity, huh. So here, this is the place where we need to define the logical actions, where we have basically the logical action called create, then change, then delete, then display, mass processing, multi-object processing, etc.
Got it. So since you had this field blank, it chose the default as create, I guess.
Default as a create.
Okay.
So this is the place.
Sounds good. And next question, Aditya,
Okay.
like in PFCG, you chose the you chose the the application, right? The WebDin Pro application, but you didn't choose the configuration. But you said that the same application can have, like in the case of business partner, right? You have the different configuration, right? Like for the customer or for the vendor and all those things. So how did it know the specific, application configuration it had to pick up?
Yes. Yes. So the answer is here. The answer is process. So the process is the business activity. So if I choose material or supplier, definitely my business activity will be different. So if I go to business activity, so let's say for an example, material, it's a mat 1. So in that case, my business activity will be mat 1 for create material. But as I have given the business activity as YBC1, which is nothing but for the airline process. So from that point, my system is getting the information that the UI application which I will fire for this YBC1 business activity process, and this YBC1 also having the connection with the data model YB. So that will bring all the necessary information which we have in the data model YB. Okay, so that's the so-called trigger point.
Got it. And last question, Aditya, like the leading entity, how did it automatically, I know the leading entity has the attribute for the carrier ID, but how did the UI application know that it needs to bring that one in the beginning? Like if you're doing a material, you won't bring the material number during creation, right? You will just probably start with the form directly.
I think your question is this one, right? Whenever
Correct.
we select this, whenever we select the change request, how a system is bringing this information here?
Correct. Like where did it, like when you were creating, where did it ask like?
No, we are not. No, we are. We are not going to define anything. This is SAP's common design. The way SAP has been designed the entire stuff, like whatever the leading entity attribute you have. Let's say for example, material, it's a material number. For vendor, it's a business partner, because the leading entity is business partner. Okay. Similarly, for customer also it is business partner. Here it is carrier ID. So always the way it has been designed by SAP itself, it's a standard design. It is not we are doing anything. So those information will reflect here. So in our case, we have the carrier ID and its description. Similarly, if you select, let's say, when we will deal with material or business partner, you will see the business partner ID or material ID and its following description. So likewise. So for that, we are not doing any specific, any modification on UI. Rather, it's a standard one which is showing here. Okay.
So in the case of material, if you want to just generate an internal number, it will still come up with the field, isn't it? Because in the
Internal
leading
number.
entity, like let's say material number or vendor number, when you're creating a change request, you want to create a new material or a new vendor, right? So that means that you'll have an
Right.
internal number range for it. So you don't need to ask the user, give me the
Obviously.
material number or vendor number. So
No, no,
like
no,
how?
no. Here, right, because here I did not define any number range because this is something which I have either I can give character or I can give number. So that's what I'm giving here. Obviously, because we just talked about, I think, in one of the last sessions, where for material, or business partner or supplier, let's say, start with material. Okay, let's start with business partner, and I will come to. Okay, so here business partner number range. Number range interval. So this is the number range of business partner, and what I can see here, let's say this is the range which is presently using, which is starting with 6 followed by some number. Okay, and this is obviously the internal number range. So whenever in this system we are going to create uh, the business partner, automatically the next number range it will pick. Okay, so similarly if I see for supplier, so this is the vendor. Okay, so let's say this is the number range which is starts with 1 followed by some number which is internal number, and this is the range. So this is for vendor. Similarly, for change request, in fact, another day someone was asking the change request number range. So this is the change request number range. Okay, but this is for mainly what we use for OVP, that it is having the backend configuration default. Next is material.
So for OIF, we don't need to define the change request number range, isn't it?
Which one? OV,
Like the one we just did, Aditya. Like we use the OIF,
OIF,
right,
OIF.
FVM configuration. So, but we never defined the number
Honestly
range for the
speaking,
change request.
no. The thing is that as far as the project is concerned, and as far as material, customer, business partner, these are all concerned, finance, you are not going to use OIF. So technically, there is no point to discuss that OIF to define the number range. But of course, for OIF also you can define a specific number range. In fact, if you ask me the number range for the change request for OIF also taking here from there, because if you see uh, just now it's at 1218, right? This is the number which we had, the one which we created. And change request number range is, yes. So basically change request wise, it is taking this range only. Now coming to material customer, that will take what is the number range what you have defined here, the one just now I have shown in MDG IMG here, in business partner, for supplier, for customers. So that number range it will take. So there is no specific configuration you need to define for OIF or OBP. But technically speaking, because OIF we are not going to use in a real-time project where you deal with MM or finance or business partner. So there is no point to say that OIF we will have those things. But whatever it is, whether it is OIF or GF or OBP, ultimately your number range is coming from here, what you define. Okay.
Got it. And in
So for
NWBC,
material,
sorry, Aditya, like in the on the NWBC, that menu structure that came up, right? Like when you clicked on the role, like I saw like there were three things. Like there was a airline process and a couple of other things, like in your Internet Explorer screen. So you on the left hand side, the three things are there, right? Like how do you control these menus?
change request. No, this is the by default. What you see here, PFCG. So this is the role which we copied. Now go to menu. Now you can see the role which we copied, that is having already this change request information. Like under the change request, we have the single object processing, we have multi-object processing. So if you don't want, you can obviously remove this part, okay? Because we copied from the standard and we did not remove it. So that's what it is there. And also the data exchange, we have replication and the data load. So that's what, whatever you see here, this is the same information which you see here.
Got it.
The data replication, data load.
Got it. So the
So if
airline
you
process is
don't
the
need
only one
this
you added.
information, right. This is the only one which I need at this moment. So that's what I just added this and I'm just using it. So if I don't need the rest of the details, of course I can remove it from here. then it will not appear on the screen. Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Aditya.
Okay. Any other question anybody has? Okay. So if I see, so we have how many different ways we can deliver the UI application? 3 ways. One is customized configuration. So this is done. Now the next thing is configure the standard application. So the standard application is nothing but what we see here in UI configuration. So these are all standard application. So timeout. So this is the standard UI app configurations or UI applications. Okay. But the question is whether I need to deal with the standard one. Of course, we will use the standard one, but from the project point of view, it is not enough to only deal with the standard. The reason is you can see that even for the data model, it is not enough to go with the standard data model or whatever the field which SAP provided. So we always need to go beyond of it. We will have always some custom field. Sorry. So we will always have some custom field which we need to extend for our data model. So similarly, for for UI application also, whatever the custom field we have in our data model, that we need to extend accordingly. Okay. So now let's move to the next segment, which is enhance the standard application, because as far as real project is concerned, you need to deal with only this part, not the standard one, not the complete customized one. Rather, it's an enhancement of the standard application. Okay. Now, how to deal with this? So let's say, so this one, let's start with material, then slowly we will move to business partner, then finance, likewise. So I can directly go to manage UI, and MM section, and I can see there are a lot many information about the MM, material master. So which one I would like to choose? I don't know. So let's see which we can deal with. So first of all, related to the, before I go to the UI section, first we need to check whether our data model is ready for MM. So let me go to the edit data model. So before this meeting, what I was doing, I was trying to add one custom field, because as I just mentioned that this system has been refreshed. So because of that reason, all the old information has been gone. So I just add this attribute ZZFLD01, okay, for the character 03. It's a purely the custom field. You can name whatever you want to name. Anyway, that's not important. So the data model, you can see active now. Now next is, because I have added this attribute within the standard entity type, so there is no point to have a separate relations with that. The next thing is generate data model. So in the generate data model, so this is the PP structure. So this one also I have been generated. So here you can see these details are already present. Now this is done. Now coming to the mapping part. Material. Now this 2STA and another one is 2PP. Okay. So that part is also completed. Let me show you. So let's start with 2PP first. So this is for the material. You can see the entity type details here. Material details, transformation, field mapping, and here you can see the custom one. Okay. Similarly, the another 2STA. So this is I have added for Mara table. So transformation, field mapping, and this is the one. Okay. Now this SMT mapping is also done. Now one activity is still not done because of I didn't get enough time to do that. So let me do it here. That is to update this T130F table. So here utilities table contained create entries, where I need to go to this view, and here table name followed by I hope I copied properly. ZZFLD01. Okay. Save it. Now which group we need to maintain this? Let me keep this with the general details. Eleven. Okay. So here is our field. Let's make it 11. Okay. Now the field section is like based on the different material type. These are all different material types. So based on the different material types, uh, we have the optional entry. Okay. Okay. So this is done. Please, there are not many screens which open now. Okay. Now what I will do, let me activate the data model one more time. Okay. So the data model is activated now, and the next following activity is something which we know. Let's say okay, and we'll see so this is the staging table, and let's see whether this staging table having this information. I can see that information here. Okay, now we can move to the UI part. So in the UI part, we can go to SEAT, and here